Why, hello friends, my name is Miranda. Welcome back to my universe, and today we are starting a very exciting journey. I have been rereading the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins in preparation for her newest book, Sunrise on the Reaping, coming out next week. And of course, the next book I need to read is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have not read this one, so this video, unlike my other vlogs, will be completely new to me. I mean, I forgot almost everything that happened in the rest of this series anyway, so basically the same. If you haven't seen my other vlogs yet, I highly recommend that you do so in order to be caught up on my thoughts and feelings about the series so far. Now time to dive in. All I know about this book is that it's about President Snow. I don't know if he was ever a victor in the Hunger Games, if he ever was in the Hunger Games. I don't know if he plays a different role. It's all guesswork to me right now. I will say I have always been a fan of villains, especially ones that are really well written. I am a Snow hater in general. I just despise Snow. I think he's an awful human being. However, this book does make me excited to learn more about him and maybe what made him the way he is. Also, side note, I think this cover is my favorite in the collector's editions. It's just, there's something about it. I think it's so beautiful. Also, just today, I bought this Haymitch page petal bookmark. It's literally just pressed leaves. But I thought it was so pretty, and they make character bookmarks. And so, in honor of the new book, obviously I had to get Haymitch. So yes, this will be my new bookmark going forward. I'm just in a weird bookmark phase. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but in the past few weeks, I have just been wanting to purchase more bookmarks. I already have so many, so I don't know why I all of a sudden feel the urge to do this. But this probably will be my last one in a while. So I'm excited for this journey. I'm excited that you have decided to join me, and I hope you enjoy. Buckle on up, grab a snack, some popcorn, a drink, and let's get going. Happy Sunday. I'm in full comfy mode. I just got back from church, took a shower, and I might take a nap. I have some important updates before I do so though. I wish I was better at showing you my genuine reactions to things. That's always been my biggest struggle in vlogs. I just get so wrapped up in the book that I don't take the time to record while I'm reading. So that's why I always do my vlogs in kind of like chunks, right? Because I'm on chapter 8, which isn't super far into the novel, but there were just some things that I found out or learned that I wish I would have talked about right when I read it. You know what I mean? But it's fine. Too late for that right now. We just keep moving forward, keep chugging. Can I first say, like, I am terrified to say President Snow's, well, almost President Snow, teenage President Snow's. I'm afraid to say his first name because I'm worried I'm going to say it wrong. Coriolanus, I'm pretty sure is how you say it. Coriolanus Snow is our main character. Basically, he turns into President Snow later on. He's related to Tigress, who is a character we met in book 3, Mockingjay, and I had no idea they were related. Like, tell me why Tigress is older than President Snow, but I thought that Snow was older than her. But yeah, so that was wild for me to learn that he is related to Tigress. They are cousins, and he is being raised by his grandmother. So what we have learned so far is that in the original OG Hunger Game years, they would take academy students and make them mentors. This is their first year doing that, and so Snow is one of the people who is able to be a mentor. You don't get to choose who you mentor. However, the greater your status, the better district you're assigned. So Coriolanus is very disappointed when he ends up with the District 12 girl, Lucy Gray. Also, for starters, the way they treat their tributes is heinous. Putrid. They treat them like circus animals. They throw them in cages, they collect them around Panem, and then they like throw them into a monkey cage at the Capitol. At least in the Hunger Games I know, with Katniss, they weren't treated like that. They were actually treated with respect and dignity, and they were given food on their trains. They were able to live in luxury for the last few days they were alive. So I think it's interesting. I almost wonder if Snow ends up changing this because he sees how the tributes are treated. So that might play an important role later on. But we automatically really like Lucy Gray. She is extremely charming and charismatic. She automatically charms a lot of the news reporters, a lot of the children. She almost befriends a lot of people. And in the midst of this, trying to gain Lucy Gray's trust, the mentors are trying to get to know their tributes that they're assigned. Coriolanus is actually in a class where they talk about how they can improve the games and make it so people actually want to watch the Hunger Games, because right now that's their biggest concern. So this is where one of Snow's classmates brings up the idea of enforcing it as a law, making it so that everybody has to watch the Hunger Games or else they get killed. How wonderful. We know that that actually is implemented because in the original trilogy, that is what happens. And then Snow actually has this great idea to bet on the tributes, which we also know ends up happening. But that's where I just ended. He wrote the report and turned it into his professor, and we're waiting to see what ends up happening. I love reading about how the games developed as they went along, kind of the early stages of the Capitol trying to figure it out. I find it fascinating how she created this world already, and now she's almost like backpedaling and trying to set a foundation for it. And so far, she's doing a really good job. So no comments really besides that. All right, I am on part 2 of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and let me tell you, so much has gone down. So right now I'm on chapter 12, and basically Lucy Gray had her opportunity to present herself like we know very well from the Hunger Games trilogy, except it was a little bit different. They were not interviewed per se, but it was Coriolanus who introduced her, and then she has some time to kind of do whatever she wants on stage. But her goal is to get sponsors because they're just starting this up and seeing if it actually works. So she decided to sing because she has sang before. Tell me why, like 6 or 8, something like that. I think it is 6. I might be wrong. 6 tributes are already dead and the Hunger Games haven't even started yet. Excuse me? Why all of a sudden are all of these freak accidents happening? I understand that you need to have a plot that keeps people engaged, but this just seems so forced to me. There's something after another happening to the point where honestly I'm overwhelmed and I'm thinking, why are all of these things even happening? One of the mentors was killed by their tribute, and then that tribute ended up getting shot for it. Bombs went off in the arena, killing a few of the mentors and the tributes, and one of the other tributes escaped and they don't know where he is, and he's somewhere in the Capitol. On top of this, one of Coriolanus's peers ended up getting bitten by venomous snakes that were in the game maker's lab. And so we don't know if she's gonna survive or not. And then we have Coriolanus, who's trying to figure out his life in general, all the politics, all the popularity, trying to figure out where he fits in. He's basically trying to figure out how to make a name for himself, make more money, bring the Snow name back to this top, right? Snow lands on top. It's just interesting to me, like, why is the 10th Hunger Games so exciting? Is it because they started the mentorship program? I don't know, that wouldn't explain the bombs. And I get it, Snow is incorporating himself into his tribute's life way more than the other mentors are doing. So I understand that he does stick out more, and in the Capitol, sticking out is not always a good thing. So obviously that would attract more attention, whether that's good or bad. But it seems like he's a disaster magnet almost. Just this Hunger Games in general is very interesting to me, why so much chaos is ensuing. But besides all of that, Coriolanus is jealous because he finds out that Lucy Gray has some form of a lover back home. He actually starts going on this rant a little bit, like an inward dialogue, where he's upset that she would even have relationships back in District 12. It's almost possessive in a way that's kind of weird, and I kind of don't really like it, because at one point he brings up that she didn't have a life before she was called at the reaping, which is kind of a terrible thing to say, Mr. Snow. Almost like saying she doesn't have a life outside of him and what he can do for her, which I disagree with. But of course, Snow has lived and breathed in this culture that truly believes that anybody who lives in the districts are animals and should be treated as such. So I also understand how his culture had influenced that, and how he has always been fed these lies and this garbage about how your identity and who you are is in how much wealth and status you have. I mean, look at his grandmother. She hates anybody who's from the districts, and she says nasty things, and that is who raised Coriolanus. So that puts it into perspective for me, but at the same time, it's not healthy. None of it is healthy. And so I'm hoping that Coriolanus figures all that out, realizes that the tributes are actually people. Because at this point, he does not seem very redeemable. So you're telling me that Snow and Lucy Gray kissed? Go Snow, honestly. That's amazing. I actually think she was the one who kissed him first. But anyway, that complicates a lot of things. We all saw it coming, though. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. Also, they got an updated count of the tributes who are still alive, and 10 of them are dead. But the games are about to begin, so I will get back to them. Alrighty, I'm almost on part 3. I'm on chapter 20. I have like so much to update you with, but that's how it is every single time I update you. So the games have begun, and let me tell you, right off the bat, the one thing that is interesting to me, there's a lot of things interesting to me in this book, but the Hunger Games feel extremely slow. And I know that that is because of a variety of factors, right? We are following around somebody who is not in the arena. We are following around somebody who is more in the politics. But still, right? Like, it's not a very fast book anymore. Like, the beginning of this, before the Hunger Games started, I felt like there were so many things happening. And then the Hunger Games started, and nothing exciting is happening. Except for when Sejanus... Is it weird to anybody else that so many characters in this book have the word anus in their name? Or is that just me? Sejanus snuck into the arena at night, and now the Peacemakers and Dr. Gall, who is the game maker, they were all freaking out and basically forced Coriolanus in to the arena. That part was crazy. And I think it was one of my favorite parts of the entire book so far. Just the adrenaline that I felt while reading that scene was insane. Like, you're telling me that Capital Boys are now in the arena, and the tributes are not even trying to kill off themselves, they're trying to kill off them. That just tells you, what does Haymitch always say? Who the real enemy is. So they made it out alive, but Coriolanus almost died, basically. That whole thing was so enthralling, though. Like, I wished the whole book was like that. I almost wish he didn't make it out. Like, that's what I was thinking in my brain. How crazy would it be if he made it into the arena and got stuck there somehow and could not get out of it? That, I think, would have made for a really interesting story. I mean, it's fine that he made it out, right? It's not like a deal breaker for me. I just can't help but think what would have happened if he was forced to fight off the rest of the tributes. And what would happen if he found Lucy Gray in the arena. I know it would get more wishy-washy with, like, the people watching the games and the districts watching the games. The Capitol would have to find a way to get Coriolanus out of there, because that would show a bad rep on them, right? Obviously, the fact alone that one of their district boys was in the arena, that could cause chaos. So it makes sense that they would do whatever it took to get them out. I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. Now, I believe that there are like 6 tributes who are still alive. It's getting pretty good. It's just really slow right now, just with the whole games in general. I feel like it's going by pretty slow. But you know, no huge complaints from me. I'm going to shower and get ready for bed, and then I'm probably going to read some more. All right, so I read a little bit further, and I'm on part 3 now, and the Hunger Games ended. Lucy Gray ended up winning. However, Dr. Gall and the dean of the students found out about Coriolanus cheating and how he had given Lucy Gray his mom's compact to smuggle in some poison. Sorry, I'm doing my hair. And they basically said, because there was foul play in the games, you need to become a peacemaker. Or peacekeeper. I think peacekeeper is what they're called. So he is now a peacekeeper in District 12. He asked to be transported to District 12. So like, this is crazy. This completely turned around, and it was way different than what I was expecting, right? Because as the winner of the Hunger Games, he should have gotten a full ride scholarship to the academy, which would have boosted the Snow name again, because that's all that Coriolanus is obsessed with. What had happened, you won't even believe. One night, he goes to sleep, and he's not actually asleep. He's just like trying to deal with his life and what has happened, when he hears a familiar voice. And when he turns over in his bed, he is looking at Sejanus, who's his peer from the Hunger Games, who is very outspoken about how mean and nasty and unright the games are. So yeah, kind of just crazy. Makes you wonder how many other peacekeepers were there by force. But yeah, that's all the updates I have for you as of right now. Oh, howdy. It has been a very long day for me. I just finished up chapter 27. I'm now on chapter 28. Could you ever guess what I'm about to say? I have so much to update you on. Sejanus is just a little troublemaker, and he's getting wrapped up in the rebels, aka, right, the normal people of District 12. But we actually find out the origins of the Hanging Tree song, and Coriolanus witnessed the death of the man who they say murdered 3. And just like the song goes, the man who was hung yelled out to the girl that he loved in the audience and told her to run. And she did, but then she was captured by some of the peacekeepers and taken into custody. So a lot of the people in District 12 are feeling restless and want to know how she is doing. So Sejanus gets caught up with what do you know, Lucy Gray's ex, as they are trying to figure out what happened to the woman and if she is okay. Well, Coriolanus knows that something fishy is going on and is trying to get to the bottom of it, but he has found out that Sejanus has been lying to him about certain things. It's just like, the relationship is so complex. All of these relationships are so complex. Here we have Coriolanus, who doesn't even have a solid foundation of who he is, and his identity is in his family name that doesn't even actually have an identity. He doesn't even know who he is. So like, all the relationships that we get in this novel are so shallow. He's just projecting all of this nonsense and propaganda that he has been taught his whole life onto these other people. And he lives and breathes the capital. You cannot take the capital out of that one, no matter if he's in District 12. Doesn't matter. Capital blood through and through. So he's totally been brainwashed, which of course is a testament to propaganda within itself. He believes that the districts are the ones that are brainwashed. Suzanne Collins did a phenomenal job with all the themes in this book, but we won't get into that. I'm interested in knowing what exactly Sejanus is doing. The chapter just ended with him confessing to Coriolanus that he has gotten wrapped up in something. And Coriolanus actually has been set on duty to capture a lot of the jabberjays in the forests of District 12. So he has been collecting them. He learns more about them. He knows how they work. He knows how they can record voices. And so when Sejanus sits him down and is like, you're not gonna like what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna be honest with you, he hits record on the bird that he has without Sejanus knowing. Right when he did that, a light bulb went on in my head and I thought, oh my gosh, this is how President Snow becomes president. This is what redeems him. He's probably going to put all of those people in jail, and he's probably going to go home to the Capitol getting rewarded because he caught some rebels. I could be totally wrong. It would be hilarious if I was wrong. Hypotheticals. If he ruins their plan, he is ruining something that ends up happening because of Katniss regardless, but he ruins their plan and demolishes any freedom they have for the next few decades. Everything is very complex, like even the way that he views the birds and how he tells people he likes music, but he actually hates it, and Lucy Gray's whole life is just wrapped up in music. So when I think about it, I don't even know why they are together. It almost reminds me a little bit of Katniss and Peeta in the way that it is staged and just for the show. Even though they didn't have a romance for the show, it felt very much like that. Like he was always obsessed with how everybody saw him and perceived him to fabricate this story of who he is because he just doesn't know who he is. I don't know what I'm rambling on about. It's past midnight. I'm probably gonna finish this book though. Old habits die hard. I'm all done. I finished The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This was a solid 4 stars, let me tell you. Why I even docked it a star is simply because it dragged on and on in different ways that I would have preferred it not to. Like a lot of Coriolanus's dialogue seemed a little bit repetitive almost, or just took a very long time for him to say the same thing over and over again, when I feel like that could have been cut back. I also struggled with the pacing in this book a little bit. However, overall, fantastic novel. I love all the things that Suzanne Collins was trying to portray in this novel. I love how even through the start of this Hunger Games, the 10th Hunger Games, how the Capitol didn't have full control over the districts to the point where nothing even happened in the Hunger Games. Like, I loved all of that. I love Coriolanus's obsession with control, and that's why he loves the Capitol so much, is because it is his sense of everything being controlled, right? Everything is in boxes. Everything is compartmentalized. Everything has its place and its time. Everything outside of that is wrong as he deems it. I think the development of Snow as a character is amazing. Like, this novel, so worth the read. So worth it. So how it ended, for those of you who are curious, Snow actually went as far as to run away with Lucy. He ended up getting wrapped up with a lot of like the scandals of the rebels just a little bit. Of course, he never like fully dove into it because he thought that what they were doing was wrong, so inherently he would never follow along with that. However, he ended up killing someone because of that, and this complicated a lot of things, a lot of his plans, because he was convinced that he would eventually be caught as the killer because he touched the gun. So he was like, oh my gosh, the other peacekeepers are about to find out that I killed him, and that's the end of my life. End of story. But the day before him and Lucy were going to run off together, he is actually pulled in and told that he passed his exam to become a sergeant or be trained to become a captain. I'm not exactly sure what the titles are. However, he would be sent to District 2 to get some training. So this complicated a lot. He still thought that he was going to end up dying, so he ends up running away with Lucy. Then, in the house that we actually originally met in the original Hunger Games trilogy, he finds all the guns stowed away. So he knows that he would never be blamed for the murder, so he is free to go back. Turns out Lucy Gray was doing some thinking of her own and ended up running away from Coriolanus, so he and all of us still have no idea what ended up happening to her. We don't know where she is, which is kind of crazy, actually. But he does end up going back to District 12, and he gets on the plane, and he's sent away, but he ends up stopping at the Capitol. The plane drops him off of the Capitol, and he meets with Dr. Gall, who then says, actually, I was so impressed with the way that you have conducted yourself and the way that you have gained all of what you have learned. And I'm glad that you have learned all of this about control and the Capitol and why we need the Hunger Games, yada, 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 all of this brainwashing stuff, right? And she said, you're actually going to be training under me at the Academy. And there you go. The thing I love most about this book is how Snow was doomed from the beginning. He was set up to become a villain, to become evil and stay evil. He was destined to become the #1 capital boy. Just look at all the emphasis in his life, all the people and all the voices talking to him and feeding into him. And then the second he gets wrapped up in something that actually might be real and authentic, he even ruins his chances with that. Snow is a very, very amazing character. Overall, 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I'm glad I read it. A lot of people were actually trying to dissuade me from reading it. However, I actually think that it sheds a lot of light onto Snow as a character. And it even shows like the development of the Hunger Games and how it went through several stages and how they had to even erase the 10th Hunger Games because so much went wrong. And so that was the Capitol's lack of control, and they had to erase it so that people always think that they have full control of everything. Solid novel. Not my favorite, you know, but I didn't have those expectations. I had a really good time. I enjoyed this novel. Only had a few things here and there that bothered me a little bit. But yeah, overall, very, very enjoyable. And now we're on to Sunrise of the Reaping. I'm so excited to dive into this one, where we get to learn about Haymitch. So keep your eyes peeled for that vlog coming very soon. Thank you so much for joining me on this crazy, insane journey and sticking through it all. Please like, comment, subscribe if you would like to see more content from me. I love you all. Please be safe, make great choices, and I'll see you next Hunger Games, I guess. Bye!